Hello and welcome to day 60 of 365 Days Towards Racial Change. My name is Tomlins Nyback, and we're here discussing issues on Black uh, relations in America, white relations in America, uh, wealth, and access to resources in America, understanding how we're racially situated in America. I like to tease out two ideas that we want to ponder primarily during this time. One is, does the black slave mind prevail from the slavery times? Are we still regurgitating and thinking in slave ways, behaving in slave ways that serves dominant white society? And conversely, does white privilege and entitlement prevail and go from generation to generation, stemming from slavery? Does it have historical roots? And our second vein is I want to get black people understanding the financial game, playing the game right, understanding how we are still coerced to spend our dollars in ways and with people that are not necessarily our allies here in America. And knowing where money comes from, how money's used nationally, internationally, locally, personally, budgeting correctly, uh, knowing our how compromised we are financially are some of the things, and getting some financial education in school. If I can ever kind of get out of my own hole and out of my own way, that's going to be an agenda I would put forward. And of course, everybody would benefit. But I would really focus on black people having some good financial language here in America. I mean, it's already obscure to the general public. How much more so it's obscured toward black people. This forum here is informed by a man named Claude Anderson. Very great speaker, and it blew my mind when I started watching his videos. I immediately got a few of his books, and we reference them consistently here. Please, find him on YouTube and things like that. He's got a website, powernomics.com. He's also part of the Heritage Institute. He's still touring around the country and speaking on these issues about wealth and race in America. First book of his I read was a Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. I love coming out of that book. Black Labor and White Wealth Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America. Powernomics is his term, and talks about vertical integration, ethno-aggregation, terms that are very important, terms that other groups, they don't need a whole lot of explanation. Just think about other groups being exclusive in their business practices. Vertical integration is just having control of all the processes of a service or product, from digging it out of the ground or creating a plan right on up the chain to the top execs, but keeping that within the black family. Ethno-aggregation is, of course, sharing all those resources and ideas with black folks. And so it's not all serious and factual, humdrum racism against black folks. We do fictional racism against black folks. Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe comes to us from the mid-1800s, before the Civil War. And great look at one slave's life, or actually a couple slaves. There's a couple of slaves and families involved there. But we check in on old Tom. and see how he's doing. Right now, we've digressed a little bit because we're focusing on the runaway slave named Eliza, and she's taken her son because she's found out that her son has just been sold, you know, and the slaves, you know, they had no rights or permission. There's no committees, no law enforcement. It's pure property. It's exchange of money. Her master got in some financial trouble, and so he puts Tom on the market to settle his debts, but they weren't quite all settled. Um, but Eliza's son makes himself available somehow, young boy, and the slave trader who's trying to settle these debts is impressed, and he convinces Master Shelby to throw little Harry into the mix, and all debts will be settled. And um, Eliza hears about this and runs off with him after telling Tom that he's been sold. Right? Tom hears it secondhand. He doesn't even get firsthand information of this. So every once in a while we'll check in on, see how Tom's doing. We'll get back to him in another week or so. Today is the 1st, March 1st, and so along the 1st I've started doing Black First. Now, well, Black First, there's a whole lot of Black First. Let me show you. We're going to introduce a new text actually today as well. This book, copyright 2013, Black First, 4,000 entries in here, and I'm digging through, I'm doing some mining here because I'm looking for a specific kind of first. I don't want, the first black president doesn't really qualify in my first. First black actress, first black auto mechanic. Those are first of the dominant society open the door and allowing a way for blacks to participate. And it's what I want to get at. What I'm trying to get at is, the white society, they do it over and over. They come in, exploit, extract resources, wealth, and all this, and what's left over is blacks' opportunity. It's a thick book, so I got a long way to go. So, but we're going to walk our way through a few of these entries. Not many of the entries are meeting my criteria for Black First. So getting back to the way whites extract and come in, what I mean is it's like having a black bank teller, or president of a black bank, and all these positions that are already inhabited by whites and secured and moving forward, and blacks coming along afterwards. It's not a monumental feat because black folks don't lack for the ability; they just lack opportunity. So the black first I'm looking for would be something like George. I think is it George Washington Carver or whoever the peanut guy was. An inventor bringing something new. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm sure when I get to the inventors section and things like that, I'm not looking for the first black astronaut because white people did all that, flying around the air and whatnot, sailing in boats, looking microscopically. I don't have any recorded events of blacks doing that first. Blacks learned these skills and probably do well and excel and go become better than whites. But I'm looking for that true first, something never done by anyone on the earth ever. That's the black first I'm looking for. So they're in there, but they're not as abundant. I got the book with the hope. I was like, wow, 4,000. That would be easy to find some material out of there. But I've been the money spent. I'm actually getting education. There's a lot of interesting little articles in there about blacks being the first to rise up in an organization or whatever. But not many black first, you know. Give me like the first person to walk on Mars, like if they were black. Now that's a black first. Maybe not, they're not a black astronaut, but they're the first person to walk on Mars. Yeah, there's a black first. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for here. So today we're talking about a woman named Anna Deaver Smith, and I had trouble. I saw her pictures on the Wikipedia and stuff, and I knew I had seen this woman's face or something. And after writing the brief notes and everything, it finally clicked. She's probably a familiar face. If you Google the name, if you look at the brief notes, you can find her name. She's got some stuff on YouTube as well. Light-skinned woman, and but she was worked with Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, and she was the I don't know, but paralegal, no, but maybe higher up than that. She worked in that big legal organization and everything. I've probably seen her otherwhere. She's other places. She's got television. She's her one of her strengths is live theater. But she's got a true first, I think, here that we'll get into. She was born September 18th, 1950, still alive. I hope that, I'm coming out of this book with a copyright of 2013, and it has people listed as alive that have died since in this 4 or 5 years since the book came out. So I got to keep some of that math in my head as well. But I think she's still alive. At least Wikipedia has her life. We're referencing Wikipedia as well. So she's got a strong focus on theater, and the whole Wikipedia piece is on her involvement with theater and things like that. Her style is documentary theater or verbatim theater, where you would take a historical figures, a real person's monologue, but maybe even she could parse out the dialogue, but she would personify that character and bring it to the audience. It's like if you see an actor perform the "I Have a Dream" speech, something famous, something notable like that. She would do this with other characters. She may even have done a Dr. King piece on that. So it's her memory must be extraordinary. She's got obvious talent and focus. A lot of things I lack. My memory used to be real good at memorizing music and such. I've kind of turned away from that. Other interests have come up. So, but anyway, your memory's got to be phenomenal to do that. I actually did it once in a public speaking class in, I don't know if it was an actual speech, but it was from the Alexander movie where he's encouraging his troops. And so I did that off memory. I watched the movie 1,000 times. I like the movie. So that's the idea of this documentary theater or verbatim theater. In her journey as an actor and moving around and the theater circles and stuff like that, early in her career was hard. think she's born 1950, so you know, late 60s, coming into the 70s. You know, their society, interesting, was still struggling with uh, quadroon, mulatto, octoroon, anything. All these terms we have for a lighter skinned black person, if they want to be called black people. There's a whole discussion we can have on that because she's very fair skinned, just like my mother is. So we could have a debate on that. Civilized, though, you know. Anyway, white society considers her black. They just, with these shades that we come in, they had, they just they weren't sure about it. So she struggled with that a little bit. I'm not sure how that got settled. It's just mentioned there. But her black first. The first I want to bring her up on is she was the Ford Foundation's first artist in residence in their, I guess it's their headquarters in New York. Got a lot of some of America's staple organizations have headquarters in New York. You know, New York, the Big Apple. That's, you know, it's a masters of the game. You know, headquarters are there. Oh, they can have plants over here and international distributors and national hubs around, but the headquarters, you know, if you can sustain in New York, you're really doing some high power. So Ford's Ford's Foundation, their headquarters, main office in New York, you know. So anyway, they do get a good idea. I don't have dates on this, but they make her the artist in residence. It was a new position for her. She did a lot of work in New York. That's her resume from Wikipedia, and I'm sure from that she networked and, you know, got respected and everything. And this whole brand new position is created, artist in residence, and it was created for her to outreach to everyone, of course, but you know, bring culturally and diverse, sensitive subject matter through art to the public, and through that, that was a nice move by Ford to have this outreach towards those black communities and everything, and you know, minorities. You know, I'm kind of going to use these words interchangeably. I don't like using them in this form because we want to have a focus on what's going on with black folks, but for conversational purposes, we'll just be more inclusive for this short time. And so she's this outreach kind of resonates, harmonizes economically with you know, blacks making strides. You know, there were blacks workers, auto workers, and things like that, and numerous times already in the book. There's blacks in making it up in the higher echelons of Ford's management and things like that. So Ford is, you know, working on its PR, public relations, you know, and she's brought in to improve that image and process with art through theater and things like that through outreach. So it's a wise move, and it's a wise move by any organization. You know, I don't see it much happening anymore because America goes through its cycles. You know, there's a long train behind black folks of people wanting to step up to the plate, be heard, you know, and they get heard for a time and then they move on. Yeah, think about gay rights. women's rights. It's always a right, you know, a right on red. I remember that when that conversations was happening. Uh, Now they come up, you know, and sometimes it reaches almost to the Supreme Court. So anyway, the issue with black race, minorities, possibly an issue. I want to believe it was a motivating factor to bring her in. Also she's a woman, so that's another piece of it. Give women all the credit, all the due, and to be this artist in residence. So she's puts this artistic twist, you know, more than decorating the front lobby. She's when a performance is happening and sport is sponsoring it, it's probably a big deal. They probably make a point of sponsorship, exclusivity, letting probably there's some issue of addressing race, culture in the performance, and then they put on the show. So she's the person who's directing that traffic. Okay, in New York. So good for her. I'm glad for her. Okay, so they want to facilitate an inclusive forward. So that's the kind of black first I'm looking for. Not your astronauts, your actors, uh, athletes. If it's an institution that whites have already controlled and ran forever, then it's not the kind of first we want here. If you like that first, here you can. It's a thick book. Look at that book, 4,000 entries. So we're only here for a year, and we missed the first. So, but we got February in. There's March, and we'll try to at least keep it mixed up, male, female. But I'm glad for Anna Smith there. It's hard to find something brand new. I want to grant that. We're in a time right now where so many bases are covered. Automation and robotics is coming to the fore now, and that's going to be a big problem for reorganizing wealth, acquiring wealth, even just caring for oneself. Like, it's going to be interesting as I'm get closer to departing this world, what it's going to look like as I leave. There's not much first out there, is what I'm saying. Uh, it's a lot of redundancy in the system to me. And I want to bring out the first because black first. Because we want to recognize that blacks are not without ability. Like I said earlier, if the whole race and slavery thing had not happened, what would Africa be like without people just coming down there, Europeans and Arabs, just harvesting bodies and taking them and forcing them into their will. I think about how many brains, innovations, inventors, people that could have really probably sped up a whole lot of processes in the world, had they not been a slave and had not had the opportunity to participate properly in the fabric, history of the world, other than just being some black back worked to death somewhere, or somebody bouncing a ball, or somebody just working up and down. Like there was no aptitude test. You just got drafted into a position, you know. But unlike Anna Smith, I know this position was kind of more or less created. It wasn't a draft. It was, she's out there with an ability, and she's going to cut through and break brand new barriers, brand new ground, unrealized potential in the Ford organization, because of her apparent talents. How much of that was lost through slavery? Oh my goodness, tons, I'm sure. So many people have fallen through the cracks. And what is that today? The man or woman slinging crack in your urban neighborhoods, uh, men and women incarcerated. You think about black folks carrying the dysfunctional burden of especially American society, and right now I'm sure there's financial geniuses locked up. There's potential doctors and lawyers locked up, because they were on the wrong side of the law. There, in principle, in theory, their mental foundation is something that could really benefit, but it got channeled into crime. I say that crime in quotes, because America has gotten away with a whole lot of stuff after it sequesters that behavior, so to speak. Then it becomes the authority on how that same behavior is dispensed in the world. Look at gay rights as one example that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. We used to be such a Christian nation and all that, and now, after we done had the Matthew Shepard and killed off all kinds of gay folks and then all that, now we're talking about transgender issues in the military and gay rights and all. I've got no problem with that. A lot of gay friends on my resume. But, America, that's that hypocrisy to condemn, then sanction. It's okay, that's another discussion. But Anna Deaver Smith, thank you for that material. That's a Black First here at 365 Days Toward Racial Change. My name is Tomlins Nyback. We'll see you again.